There was a billionaire on stage. Someone in the audience asked, what is the difference between you and us? How someone with far less experience, even less intelligence, is beating you. And his answer was almost shocking. When you've actually been able to make something great happen, chances are you didn't hesitate. Chances are you acted with true LFG energy and you just decided and went for it. You took immediate and decisive action. There are no such things as million-dollar ideas. What there is million-dollar execution. Now, the answer to all of this, guys, as to why someone is doing better than others has two parts. Speed of execution is your first step, and what if that don't actually work out? We are back for another episode of the LFG Energy Podcast. On today's episode, I want to talk to you about why some people are succeeding and others aren't when it comes to being in the same industry, the same office, the same group, the same classroom, the same team. Now, there's some psychology and a framework here that I want to leave you guys with, which will help you answer that tough question or identify why maybe you're doing better than others or why maybe they're doing better than you. Now, this is also assuming, guys, one constant, which is that let's just take an industry, for example, and I'll take mine in lending, mortgage lending specifically. I work at a company and there are 300 people who work in sales at our company. So why is it that someone at our company is doing better than everyone else, given access to the same technology, the same market conditions, the same interest rates, the same inventory channels, the same president of the United States, the same Fed chairman that's controlling interest rates, like all of these things being a constant, and nobody has an advantage in terms of any of these factors or something that's just exclusive to them. So why is it that somebody is doing better or actually like kicking serious ass, even with a fraction of the experience that other people have? You might look at this question that I'm asking here and think to your industry or where you work and how someone with far less experience, even less intelligence, is beating you or winning out opportunities, making more money, creating more success, more inroads, getting a better grade, whatever it might actually be, than you, who's got more experience, more pedigree, more substance perhaps. Why does the not so better looking person beat out the better looking person for that date? It seems obvious that maybe the better looking person would, but it's not how it actually goes. There's more to it. And that's what I want to get into today when it comes to business. Now, the answer to all of this, guys, as to why someone is doing better than others has two parts. And to figure out those two parts, we're going to look at a certain class of individuals that can be actually quite polarizing. They get demonized, in fact, in our current national narrative. And that is billionaires. Now, we like to look at billionaires and demonize them and blame them for everything that's wrong in the world and say they have too much, they're too greedy, they are stealing from us, or they're doing other things. Now, you may not have this opinion of them, but that's kind of a national narrative. And some of that, guys, let's be honest, is by design. Class warfare is a real thing, and it's very easy to whip people up into a frenzy when things are not going well because everyone needs someone to blame. That's the way society works. That's the way the media works. So they will take a problem and expose it. And then, because everyone needs someone to point the finger at, they will say they are to blame for all the problems right now. So billionaires are always catching the short end of it. And don't worry, they can handle it. This is not to sympathize or make everyone feel bad for billionaires, because no one's going to feel bad for a billionaire. But I think there's lessons. And rather than having envy or hate towards a group, I like to emulate. I like to see what is it they're doing, because billionaires, guys, last time I checked, they're human beings just like us. They put their pants on the same way we put on our pants. Yes, they might have resources or access to different things, but there are two things specifically amongst the billionaire class that I know will reveal exactly what we need to know here for why someone succeeds where somebody doesn't. And the first one comes back to a story. So about a year ago, I sat in the audience for a panel discussion, and it was in the biotech field here in San Francisco, which is now home to more billionaires in the United States than anywhere else in the country. They just passed New York this last month. And there was a billionaire on stage, and someone in the audience asked, what is the difference between you and us? How did you get to where you're at? And how can some of us aspire to get there? And quite honestly, it was a question that any one of us would have asked, and we were all anxious to hear the answer to, because yes, we want to know what the secret sauce is. How did this person get there when they were just a regular, everyday person like the rest of us? And his answer was almost shocking. He spoke back to this young man that asked the question and said, look, I'm no different than anybody else here in the audience. In fact, if we were to all take an IQ test, I am certain that more than half of this audience, or all of you sitting out there, are actually smarter than me. You have a higher IQ than I have. The only difference between me and you is my speed of execution. And that is the first answer here, guys. And that is the first thing, guys, that we want to pay attention to. It's execution or speed of it. This billionaire said back to that young man who asked the question, by the time you've deliberated something, gone back and forth with your partner or your spouse, ran it through ChatGPT, Googled the absolute hell out of it, bludgeoned the idea to death, talked yourself in and out of it, I have already acted and decided and completed the task while you are still sitting there thinking about it. And there's great magic in this, guys, because if you think back to when you've actually been able to make something great happen, chances are you didn't hesitate. Chances are you acted with true LFG energy and you just decided and went for it. You took immediate and decisive action. One of the very first guests that we had on this LFG Energy podcast by the name of Reza Hariri, who's a very successful entrepreneur and a dear friend of mine, had this incredible quote, which I share with so many people today outside of the podcast, which is that there are no such things as million-dollar ideas. What there is million-dollar execution. And it's so true for all of us, guys, if we stop and think about it, right? All the ideas that are stuck in your head or that are written down on paper, until they're actually acted upon or executed, they're worth nothing more than the paper that you put the ink to or whatever value you want to attach to it in your brain. But until it's actually out there, until you've done something with it, you'll never know what it's truly worth. Now, this billionaire who was asked the question on that panel said, in addition, that I act with 70% certainty. That means if I know 70% of the answer, that's enough for me to take action, and I'll figure out the other 30% along the way. So for all of you that are listening right now, know that speed of execution is your first step to separating from others in your industry or your business or in your classroom or on your team, but that you don't need 100% certainty, because that can be the pitfall here. 70% is enough, the other 30 you'll figure out. And what if the other 30 don't actually work out? That leads us to part 2 of the answer here, guys, which is that you must have high AQ. Now, AQ stands for Adaptability Quotient. Think of it as being the cousin to IQ or EQ, meaning raw intelligence or emotional intelligence. Now, to use a boxing analogy, we've all had the great quote from the genius Mike Tyson out there, which is that everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. So many of us come to a plan, to a boardroom pitch, to a proposal that we want to make, something where we have it all laid out of what we're going to do, but there's no anticipation of what actually might happen. And if it does happen, what will you do then? Or what will happen if you get punched in the face? Because your plan is going to change. So billionaires test very high in AQ, which means that they are able to pivot and continue to move on. Now, I want to give you guys a very quick and transferable 3-part framework for how to not only harness, but continue to develop AQ within yourself. So the first part is that you must spot the problem or the challenge very early. Recognize, if you look back to when things kind of knocked you off course, could you have spotted that a little bit earlier? The next time around, will you know what to notice for? Because your ability to do this is very important if you are going to have high AQ. The second thing is that you must reframe the challenge. You must see the opportunity in it. Billionaires see opportunity in everything. While everyone else is panicking or seeing a complete shitstorm that's going on outside, they put up their umbrella and they get to work. They see that there's an opportunity while everyone else is running scared. And the last part of this AQ framework actually ties into the first answer here, guys, which is that they act fast or they execute very quickly. So spot the challenges, reframe it as an opportunity, and then act quickly or pivot. Those 3 components are what is going to help you develop and strengthen AQ within yourself. This is how you will truly roll with the punches, because staying cemented in with just one plan of execution is a complete recipe for disaster. You have to anticipate what's going to happen. Like if we look at sports teams, they play a first half and then what do? They have a break and they make adjustments. Part of those adjustments will not only be looking at what has been working and what hasn't been working, but what can we anticipate from the other side. When I would coach our fighters, in Taekwondo, you have 2 2-minute rounds. Our first round is very much about just executing, but also, more importantly, observing. Because when the fighter comes back and is breaking with me for 60 seconds and recovering there quickly, I am anticipating what the other side is going to do as a coach. And my fighter needs to be prepared for that. So not only do we make our adjustments of what worked and what didn't, we also are going to anticipate what this other person or fighter is going to do so that we can counteract that. And that's your framework, guys. The 2 traits of billionaires, the people that everyone loves to hate. If we emulate rather than hate on them and see these 2 things that they seem to do very well, and look, at the end of the day, Everybody can do those same two things that are not just exclusive to whether you have lots of money or resources or opportunity. Everybody can execute a little bit faster and use that 70% framework for making such a decision. And everyone now has the 3-part framework to how to develop their AQ. So guys, if you're applying something like this or you're gonna put this into action right away, please send me a note on Instagram and share that story, because I love talking about how these episodes are actually having an impact in people's lives and in their businesses. And if you found this episode to be really helpful, because I'm putting in a lot of time and effort into this podcast, guys, and I want it to reach more people and have more of a broader impact globally, please take a screenshot of this episode and share it on social media and let me know what you liked about it most. I appreciate you guys listening, and don't forget, frameworks like this and the conversations that we're having on this podcast, we have every single month within our incredible community called the LFG Society, which is a collection of amazing human beings that are all like-minded, wanting to get better personally as well as professionally. And if you'd like more information on that, you can DM me anytime to learn more and even partake as a guest in one of our calls to check it out. But thank you guys again for all the support and love on this show, and I'll see you guys on next week's episode of the LFG Energy Podcast.